Are we playing it too safe? We're talking about the Great Commission today on the Church Revitalization Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast, brought to you by the Malfers Group team, where each week we tackle important, actionable topics to help churches thrive. And now, here's your hosts, Scott Ball and AJ Matthew.
Welcome to the Church Revitalization Podcast. My name is Scott Ball. I'm joined by my friend and co-host, AJ Matthew.
Here we go.
New year, new you.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to say that we missed you all, but it was kind of a nice break. Not gonna lie.
Well, we did, and it gave enough time for your plastic surgery to heal up, so that
mine.
You're looking good. That nose job is really natural now.
Yeah, no plastic surgery, but I did get some new glasses. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the new glasses. And AJ injured his eye, so he's wearing glasses.
Called an injury. That sounds, I don't know. I don't think I'm injured, but yeah. I am wearing my glasses. Yeah.
Well, welcome back. Enough chit chat, enough small talk. Some people don't like the small talk, so we're going to quit it. Today we're talking about the Great Commission. Sorry. Some of you comment and you say, we love the banter. Some of you comment and go, get straight to the good stuff. It's hard to know how to balance that. Okay. The title on today's episode, a little out of practice, AJ, the Great Commission versus the Comfortable Commission. Love this topic.
Yeah.
And we'll dive into it. But essentially what we're going to diagnose a little bit today, AJ, is that there are a lot of churches that drift from the Great Commission to the Comfortable Commission, and they actually aren't even aware that they have done that. They think or perceive themselves to be Great Commission churches, but within a little bit of self-examination, you start to realize, not so. And
I think the knee-jerk reaction to that statement is, oh, well, that's not us. This won't apply to us because our mission statement is Great Commission focused, and we talk about that. And stick around because we might be talking to you.
Yeah, totally. And speaking of sort of self-evaluation, I'm gonna be mentioning this a few times throughout the podcast, but we do have something called the Church Checkup Challenge. Great way to start off the year to do some more deeper self-diagnosis. So today we're talking about the Great Commission versus the Comfortable Commission. But in this challenge, we're going to help you do some self-diagnosis on a range of things, from your leadership to vision to ministry, editing, and so on. So that is free. It's totally free. So you go to malfersgroup.com/challenge and you can sign up. It's 7 days. Fun thing about this, AJ, is that 7 days includes access to the Healthy Churches Toolkit during the challenge. No credit card required. Now, some people have maybe gone to the website to sign up for the free trial of the toolkit and gone like, well, but I don't want to give any payment information. I actually just want to try it. Great news. The good, fun thing about the challenge is you get access to this challenge. It's a 6-7 day course. It's very simple. It's like 15 to 20 minutes each day between doing the exercise that we give you and watching the video. So very short. 7-day challenge. And it includes access to the toolkit, and you don't have to give us any payment information to be able to do that.
You can play around. You can use the tools.
Yep. That's right. malfersgroup.com/challenge. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this subtle drift, AJ. So how churches slowly move from mission to maintenance. And it is a slow shift. It's not immediate. There's no such thing as a brand new church plant that has defaulted to maintenance. They can't. They have to be on mission, or they won't make it. I guess you could. If you launch that way, though, you won't last very long. So,
that's true. Yeah. And every now and then we talk with churches, and they're like, yeah, I'm 3 years into my plant, and we have 18 people, And I'm like, oh, we got some stuff to unpack here then. But that's not probably the norm. It's probably more so the exception, I think, in an evangelical church plant. But
yeah, even in those situations, like when you're at least ostensibly, you'd be thinking, you got to focus. Like you got to. AJ, I was watching this Dude Perfect. Are you Dude Perfect guy? You like Dude Perfect? Probably not.
We, when the boys were younger, we would watch some Dude Perfect. Yeah, kind of moved on from that a while back. Yeah,
they had on Disney Plus. They have not a sponsor. Much to my chagrin, would love to get a Disney sponsorship. Let's get that rolling.
That's what we need is Disney's influence on the podcast. That'd be great.
I don't want their influence. I just want their money.
Yeah, and they always come in with no strings attached. They just want to promote Disney.
Well, on unnamed streaming platform, there is a ESPN 30 for 30 documentary that was done on Dude Perfect. There's a point to this. And in it, the dudes, like the first several years, 6 years or so of their channel, they got married, they started having kids, except for the twins. And their families, their in-laws, expected them to like have real jobs, so they were doing Dude Perfect videos on the yeah. So they did Dude Perfect videos on the weekends and then whatever. So, but the thing almost totally fell apart until there was kind of like a breaking point where they were like, we're either doing this thing or we need to just walk away from it. And that was like 10 years ago or something like that, 12 years ago. Or I might be getting the dates wrong, timeline here. Don't hold me to it. But some number of years ago, they were like, we have to make a decision. And that's when it really took off. And I bring that up because there's some truth to that. Like as a church, if you're going to be about the Great Commission, there's no like walking the line. Like we just do the Great Commission on Sundays. We do that on the weekends, and then we do whatever else we want the other days of the week.
Yeah.
It's like, no. Like you're on mission. You're all in on the Great Commission, or don't bother.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's what, this first point that we've entitled The Subtle Drift, it's not intentional. No church is like, we're going to just dabble in the Great Commission and try to be marginal and, kind of static, but make sure that we talk about it. Nobody's doing that with intentionality. And I think this is probably, one of the more dangerous points that we're talking about here is that there are a lot of churches out there that, they have this mission statement that expresses the Great Commission, and they might even, keep that in front of people and have enough of a framework around it built where it kind of feels like we're doing it, or it sounds like we're doing it. But then when you look at the metrics, though, what are the results of our actions? And we don't see what we would expect the results to be based on what we're saying. That is the dangerous part, because we feel like we're saying the right things, we're doing the right things, but the proof is just not there.
Right. So we see this all the time in the church ministry analysis that we do. So if you've not done one, then you don't know how it's broken down. But in the church ministry analysis, we start by evaluating the Great Commission mission of the church, but then we have other ways of probing throughout the church ministry analysis to diagnose whether or not we're actually making and maturing disciples. And so it's not uncommon for churches to score themselves very highly on their Great Commission focus. But then the fruit of that in other questions, which would sort of test or prove that, are really low.
Yeah.
And so there's a genuine deep lack of self-awareness. And I think this manifests itself. We're going to do a whole episode on something similar to this here in a little while, and maybe in a few weeks. But sometimes comfort masquerades as wisdom in some of the things we say.
Mm-hmm.
So like we might say like, well, you know what? We we need to be really good stewards, and we don't want to risk what God has built. So, we use these things. We're trying to be good stewards. I worked with a church famously. They knew who they are. I don't know if they're a listener or not to the podcast. They had committed to a particular project. I'm going to try to be vague. They had committed to a particular project, didn't have all the money to do said project. But they needed to do that project. Like, they had all agreed and voted that they needed to do that project in order to be effective. And then they were like, yeah, but we're not going to, because we need to be good stewards. And they would have been fine. Like, they would have been totally fine. They would not have had to get a $18 million loan to do the project they needed to do. It would have been less than $1 million. Over time, they spent significantly more than that over the years, because things get more and more and more expensive, and it's still not done. So you not willing to take a risk because we're trying to be a good steward sounds like it's wise, but it's actually just an excuse.
Yeah. Yep. There's that risk tolerance. Feeling like things that it won't work out. We're not going to take a little bit of a chance. We're not going to push our people a little bit more into action. So it is it is falling back. It becomes the comfortable commission. Like, how can we make sure nobody leaves, that we don't have a lot of conflict?
Yes.
And it feels like we're doing pretty good. We've said this in a variety of ways over the years, Scott, but churches that have no conflict are sometimes under the false impression that everybody is in agreement and that everything is going well. And I think there's almost a little bit of better truth to the opposite. If there's a little bit of conflict happening, we're probably pushing a little bit, hopefully in healthy areas.
Sure. Yeah.
But, trying to move people a little bit more, maybe into action, into deeper discipleship. And that's when we might get a little bit of tension. And I think there's probably a healthy amount, maybe conflict is too big of a word, a healthy amount of tension that churches should try to live in, to move forward.
No pain, no progress, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our second key point here. So let's talk about some warning signs. So we've covered that it is a subtle shift. It takes some time. You may not notice it. So how can you notice if maybe you have fallen into the comfortable commission rather than living out the Great Commission? The first thing is that if you find yourself in management mode, just trying to keep all of the plates spinning, and you've really stopped thinking about what's on the horizon. I guess I want to maybe clarify that, because I think some people might perceive that to go, I always have to be launching new things, new ministries, or new styles, or new this. And that's not what I'm saying, actually. But you can get to a point where you are totally in maintenance and have no pulse on the actual needs, spiritual needs, physical, felt needs of the community around you. And so you're maintaining a ministry that isn't actually making any kind of an impact. So does that make any sense? Am I making any sense?
Yeah. It doesn't always mean, once a year, we're kind of throwing everything out and everything is new every year. I mean, we need a healthy plan to begin with, a healthy framework. And then we do need to be like trying new things. Not so often that people are like, golly, we just started that other one and we're already throwing that one away. That should never be people's perception of what's happening. But stagnation is just death in the church to me. I think the church should always be advancing. And I think that's part of that tension that I think people should feel like, okay, we're not just getting comfortable. I mean, we're pushing a little bit more. And so that's the balance that has to be had.
I guess I would say is like you could have a new ministry every month, But if it's the same 10 people, 15 people, 100 people, 200 people who are consistently engaging, then that's actually not a sign of health just because it's something that's new. So knowing versus you could do the same program every year, but you're activating people to reach felt needs in the community and spiritual needs, and more and more people are bringing into the same program, and those programs are growing, or those ministries are growing, and you didn't actually change the way it functions or the way that it looks at all. That's better. So it isn't change for change's sake is irrelevant. You just slap a different title or a different logo on something, but you're reaching the same people. That doesn't mean much to me. So I guess just not even having those evaluation metrics in place to know what to define what success means. How do we know? And not tracking that, not measuring that in any way. Those are the problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, another one of the kind of subpoints here that we've talked about too is regarding budgeting. I think that's an area that can help maintain a very static position in the church, is that recycling the budget, because where we put our money is, hopefully where we're going to put some action as well. And if we're not focusing first on the mission and funding that, and kind of doing it in reverse, like we're funding our programs, we're funding whatever we have been doing for a long time, then I think we're going to continue to see similar results. So one of the warning signs that you're on a comfort commission is budget recycling. And I think we've done, actually a long time ago, Scott, we did a zero-based budgeting.
Yeah, we're overdue for that. Maybe we'll do workshop. That again this year.
Yeah.
In the toolkit later this year, we might refresh that budgeting workshop.
Yeah, that'd be good.
If you find yourself maintenance over mission, then that's the warning sign. If you feel like I'm going from, I've called it the Sunday to Sunday hamster wheel, you're just recycling, cycling, and you're a lot of movement, but no progress. That's a warning sign that we're operating out of the comfortable commission. So AJ, what are some of the hidden costs if we get stuck in this mode where we're living out the comfortable commission and not the Great Commission? What are some of the negative consequences of that? Again, you won't necessarily see these consequences in a month, but over the course of a year or 5 or 10, you definitely see these. And the churches that contact us, honestly, they're contacting us very often on the back end of this being a problem for years. And they're seeing all of these sort of costs that we've got listed out.
Yeah, I think one of the key ones that we see a lot of is volunteer and leader burnout. And I've seen this so many times as well. And I think it is this static nature of the church that we've got enough people to get things done and we're not pursuing more, which is a discipleship issue and a Great Commission issue. Really not getting enough people engaged in doing the work of the ministry is a symptom of a deeper problem. And so, but we burn people out. The church is static as far as from a growth standpoint. It's static from a discipleship standpoint. And these highly committed people that have been serving and giving so much just get to the point where they're like, I just can't do this anymore. And then we lose people. It's so much harder to replace those people than it is to continuously be, recruiting and training and engaging and helping build people up, to elevate the quantity and quality of ministry that the church is doing, instead of, relying constantly on these same few people and just waiting until they leave, or quit. And then it's just, you're really set back at that point. So it's definitely one of the hidden costs, is losing really high quality people because we're not supporting them the way we need to.
Yeah, and we talk more about this in other episodes, but to address that, I mean, it's why you call it. That's why I guess in the corporate world you call this a human resource, because that's what people are resources to some degree. And so if you're experiencing this right now, if you're going, yeah, I'm seeing that my teams are burned out. There are 2 ways to address that. It's like money. That's why I say it's like a resource. If you have too little money, there are two ways to do it. You can get more money, increase your income or revenue, or decrease your spending. And the same is true if you are burning out your leaders, if you're maxing out the leadership capacity of your church, you can address it in two ways. You can do fewer things so that you have more margin for the leaders you have, or you can increase the number of people who are engaged. And in all likelihood, you need to do both. But you can probably cut programs faster than you can recruit new people. And in fact, your willingness to cut back on some programming in order to create margin for the existing volunteers would be a sign of good faith to any new volunteer, because the fact that you're burning out your current volunteers is a signal to any potential new volunteer. Oh, I don't want to sign up. If I sign up, they will burn me out. So if you're experiencing that right now, this is maybe a side note within this episode. But if you're living that reality right now, those are the two ways to resolve that, and you probably need to do a combination of both. Some other costs would be impact on the next generation. We hear this constantly from churches who contact us. We're a graying church. Our church is graying out. How do we reach young people? How do we reach the next generation? And, by the time you're asking that question, I'm not saying it's too late, because it's not. It's never too late. But it's much harder. If you find yourself in that situation where you're looking around and going, oh, there are no families here, it's significantly harder to solve that problem when that's the moment you're in. So you need to be thinking about this earlier before you all have gray hair. So if that's not you right now, if you look around and go, well, it's not all gray hair yet, now's the time to start thinking about the next generation. But if you do look around and you got a bunch of gray hair, I don't want you to think it's hopeless. It's not hopeless. But you have to focus on the Great Commission. I'm working with a church right now where when I started working with them, AJ, it's like 60 people, 95% gray hair. And they were like, what do we do? So we walked through the strategic envisioning process. They went through all of it, but I kept pushing them on Great Commission and outreach and evangelism. Today, that church, less than a year, it's only been about 7 months. 7 months into the process, they're now averaging over 100 people, and it's like 60-40 gray hair to not gray hair. So it's not hopeless. If you're in that situation, your mileage
may vary. That's pretty high performance, but yeah.
You say that. I mean, that's true. I don't want to guarantee results, but our process works. It's not it's not rocket science. It's not magic.
Yeah.
So, maybe sign up for that church checkup challenge. We'll teach you some things in there that will help you resolve some of these problems. Yeah,
highly recommended. And that kind of leads us into our last point here, just some steps you can use to break free. Maybe if you feel like maybe you are getting caught in this comfort commission instead of Great Commission, it takes an honest evaluation of what you're doing.
Yes.
And so, definitely this 7-day free resource that we're doing would be an excellent start. It's going to force you to think critically about where your church has been, where you're at right now. So it has to start with
AJ, as we've been setting it up inside the toolkit for people, I'm like, oh, are we giving it? I'm genuinely saying this. This is not like a ploy. I'm like, are we giving away too much? Because there's a lot of stuff in here that I'm like, we kind of do this in strategic envisioning. Except that it's 7 days and it's a lot to do in 7 days, and you only get it for 7 days. So, but that being said, it's maybe one of the most valuable things you could do over the next 7 days. So please do sign up for that, because we're giving away a lot of good information and audits and resources and activities for you to do with your team inside of that. And we are a nonprofit, so we're not here to make money. We're here to hopefully keep the lights on, but we want to bless your church with that. So do sign up for that. Some other things though around how to break free. You need to invite and model uncomfortable conversations. I think this is really important. if the leaders in your church feel like there's a topic or an issue that is taboo, then and they don't see you talking about it, if you're the senior leader, they're not going to talk about it either. Like you have to be willing to bring things up. I'll give an example from my home church. I don't know if anyone's listening. Risking I put my neck out there, talking about uncomfortable conversations and putting them on the internet. And we have this tradition at Christmas time. I don't know that we're alone. This might be a tradition in other churches in the South too, so we might not be the only ones. Let us know in the comments or email us if your church does this. But every year at Christmas time, we put in brown paper bags an orange and an apple and like a Hershey's Kiss or a little miniature candy bar at Christmas time. Like give that out one Sunday during the Advent season as an homage or remembrance to Depression days. Because it was a thing that started during the Depression as a way for the church to make sure that everybody had something, because times were hard. So pool resources together, make sure especially the kids, make sure every kid had something, like a sweet treat. But it's 2025 and it's not that hard to find an orange or an apple or, and it was just Halloween not that long ago, and there's probably a pantry full of uneaten candy. So bringing that up and going like, is this a good use of our resources?
Mm-hmm.
Are there better ways that we could spend our money? Or if we were going to do the same thing, what if we didn't give it all to each other, but we actually gave the orange and the apple and to people who genuinely do need it? It's not like there aren't people who are in need in 2025. It's just not the people sitting in that room. Maybe a better application of that would be to do a food drive for the local food pantry. Like you could take the same principle, and apply it forward in a better mission oriented way. I really hope someone from my church is not listening to this and feeling like I'm blasting them. But I did bring this up, by the way. I was like, just a thought. Is this really something we need to do?
I don't think any of the kids on the angel trees ever added citrus to their lists of things that we're hoping to get.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, or at least not in the United States. For sure. But the point is, reason I bring up that example, AJ, is that, and it's uncomfortable to bring it up on the podcast, but it is like it's like a tradition. It's a thing that our church does. And if someone in leadership isn't willing to say, hey, is this dumb? Even if at the end of the day, the decision is we're going to keep doing it. At least allowing it to be discussed.
Right.
Is important.
That's right.
And I promise you, there are stupid things that your church does, probably, that people are like, but we can't talk about that.
Yeah.
We can't say it.
Yeah.
Because it'll upset the Johnson family, or it'll upset the ladies' ministry, or it will, whatever. For whatever reason, it'll upset the apple cart, no pun intended. So we can't bring it up. If you want to break free from this comfort mindset as a leader, you have to go, well, I don't know what the end result of this conversation is, so I don't have enough influence, and I got outvoted in my own church in getting rid of this dumb thing we do. But at least I brought it up. Like, you might get outvoted too. Say something.
There's so many of these things in churches all over the world. These tradition elements that have just become so ingrained. They're just they're off topic. We just can't talk about that. They exist throughout Christendom. And
it's not a sacrament. I mean, like, we're not talking about getting rid of baptism.
We did this baptism thing for a long time. Maybe we should talk about this.
Shouldn't do that.
That's right. But then,
but we've gotten rid of offering times in churches, but you're probably still. But you're still.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah,
yeah. Oh no, we got the box in the back, but please take an orange on the way.
Yeah, these are Have some uncomfortable conversations in your church. Reevaluate everything. This, we talk about
our church, for the record, because in case anyone we do pass the offering, and we brought that back. So just for the record,
that's good. All right, that's good. Yeah, we need to be doing zero-based ministry. And I don't mean every year we wipe the slate clean. Like, how are we going to do church this year? But we need to be evaluating. We've got to be asking these questions. Is this program worth it? Is it worth the resources that it takes? Is it bearing the fruit that we want it to? What is our measure of bearing fruit? We're going to start with the Great Commission on that one. But yeah, we have to do this. So yeah, start with the church checkup challenge. Start there.
Yeah, I was going to say, and by the way, there are certain steps within the church checkup challenge that specifically deal with that question of sort of editing our ministries and things like that. So please do sign up for that. It's 7 days. It's totally free. malfirstgroup.com/challenge. No credit card required. It gets you into the toolkit for 7 days. I will say there are a couple things that you won't have access to, which would be the our coaching and the church ministry analysis, and that's largely because you wouldn't have time to schedule it in the first place. And the church ministry analysis is a consulting service; it's not like an automated thing. So you got to be a legit subscriber to use those functions, just because it takes longer than your 7 days to take advantage of that. But
basically you're getting
it's totally unrestricted. Yeah.
It's the Healthy Churches Toolkit Plus account that has all of those other resources and features in it. So yeah, do it. I think you're going to like it. You'll get a lot out of it for sure. So,
okay. One last thing before we close, just for like a point of clarification too, that you can sign up for that. It's 7. It's not like it all starts at the same. Like you can go there right now and sign up.
Yeah.
Or you can go there tomorrow, or you can go there the day after that. But the registration will close on January 31st. So at the end of the month, that opportunity will pass you by. So, but you can sign up all the way up until the very end of the month and still have the 7 days. So it goes into February then, I guess. But that's your window now till the end of the month to sign up, and then you get your 7 days.
Okay. That was malfirstgroup.com/challenge to take advantage of that. And this has been episode 272 of the Church Revitalization Podcast. So today's article is at malfirstgroup.com/272. And as always, over there on the YouTube also for your viewing pleasure. We hope that this is a great start to the new year for you and your church, your leadership team. We are for you and are anxious to help you maximize what you're able to do in the Great Commission and in bringing the name of Jesus around the world. So lean into what we have to offer. We would love to be there for you. And let's all make this a great year together. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah,
See you next time.
Let's not play it safe this year.
No safe.
Let's not play it safe.